Alright, what's up guys? Xavier Elon here. Today I'm solving a popular LinkedIn question. I actually posted this in my Slack channel. Our topic today was LinkedIn questions. So this is one of the ones I picked. It's called merge intervals. So the description reads, given a collection of intervals, merge all overlapping intervals. So it's a pretty easy description. They just get right to the point, which is awesome. So as you can see here, they just give us a 2D array, and we have a start time, then an end time, and if the end time overlaps with the next start time, then we just have to merge them into a single element in the 2D array, and then we have to return the new merged 2D array. So pretty easy concept, a little bit harder to implement. The way you solve this is you have to check if the next start time, if it's greater than the previous end time, then if it's greater than, then we don't merge them because they don't overlap. But if they're equal to, or it's less, if the next start time is equal to or less than the previous end time, then we have to merge them. As you can see, they merged 1 and 4 and 4 and 5 into 1 and 5, and up here they merged these two. So so let's just jump right into code. I'm gonna grab length like I always do. It just makes it easier in the long run, shorter. Let me move this over for you guys. And then we have our base case. So base cases are important for all test cases, and we're just gonna return a new int array. Has to be a double 2D array. Sorry, not a double 2D. It's just a 2D array. And then so I'm gonna initialize 2D. I don't know why I wrote that out. Two arrays, not 2D arrays. So I had a beginning for the beginning times, and then one for the end times. So, and I set the size equal to length, and then we have I initialized a list. So this is where I'm gonna store the I'm going to store the merged times into this list, and then later return it as a 2D array. Yeah, so that's how I solve this. I mean, you might be able to use just a 2D array. I should actually try that. I'm sure you can. And then we just have our first for loop. So this is just to grab the times and put them into these two arrays. So we're just looping through for while I is less than length. Beginning of I equals intervals. So it's a 2D array. We're gonna the first brackets is the rows. So this is one row, so it's telling us to go to, well, the ith row. So this is 0, 1, 2, and then this is the third indexed row. And this is telling us to grab the first element in the first 2D. That's basically telling us the columns, so we're grabbing this one. It's basically if you line them up from I mean, I'm sure you guys have seen that. And then we have end of I. And this is telling us to grab that second. We're going to grab the second element in the row. And that's it for that for loop. And then in case they're out of order, let's just sort both of them. This isn't going to work if they're out of order, because then we have no idea what's overlapping and what isn't. So let's sort the end and beginning. So now we can actually check to see if they overlap. So let's have our main for loop. This is going to be our main for loop. This is where all the cool stuff happens. So we're going to do I less than length -1. And the reason we're doing -1 is going to make sense in a second. Let me show you guys right here. So we're doing so like I said, we have to check if this beginning is greater than this end, then they're not overlapping. So we're going to do beginning of I plus 1. That's why we have the -1, is because when we get to the last one, when we're checking this one, it's going to go out of bounds. So and end of I. And I forgot to initialize another element. So this is how we're going to keep track of the previous start. It's how we're going to assign it. So if the next beginning is greater than the previous I, then we can add it to our new list. And it's going to be an array with 2 values. So beginning prev start and end of I. And then we just need to update prev start, and we have to add 1 to I. It's going to be I plus 1 because we have to. I had to write this out on a whiteboard to visual. Well, I wrote it on my iPad, not a whiteboard, but same thing. To visualize this, I'll follow through along with you guys, so hopefully it makes sense. But let me just code this out first. And then lastly, we have to add, so it's not going to add this for loop because we're length minus 1. It's not going to add the last interval, so we have to do that ourselves. New int, and it's the same syntax style. So this time it's going to be prev start and end and length minus 1. And then we just have to return the new list, but we have to convert it to an array. Yeah. And it's going to be the size of the array, but remember it's a 2D array, so we have to pass it the second pair of brackets. And that should work. Let me just make sure it works before I run through the code. List new and length list. And oh, this has to be it's an array of ints, that's why. List int. Oh, are these not? Okay, there we go. Sorry, that's just, I'm kind of new to Java, so the syntax is weird. I still have to look it up a lot. Let me submit this. Alright, so the only confusing part is this main for loop. So let's just go through this one. So we have prev start equals to 0 and int I equals 0. So if we're going to start at this one. So if beginning of I plus 1, which is going to be 2, is greater than end of I, which is 3, so that's not true. So we're not even going to execute these statements. So we increment I. We don't increment prev start. Prev start is still 0. So if beginning of I plus 1, I is now 1, but I plus 1 is here. So 8 is greater than end of I, and end of I is 6. So that is true. So now we execute this. So new list.add. So we're adding beginning prev start, which is still 0. So beginning prev start, beginning 0 is 1. So we're adding 1 and end of I. And I is 6 still because we're still at 1. We're in the second iteration of this for loop. So it's adding 1 and 6, as you can see right here. And then we increment, we have to update prev start because what if this statement is false 2 times in a row? When it does become true, we have to update prev start so that it's keeping up with I. Otherwise, it's going to return incorrect results. If you trace through, I really recommend tracing through this on a whiteboard. It'll make more sense that way. But let's keep looping through it. So now prev start is now at I plus 1. I is 1, so prev start is going to be 2, which is right here. And then we iterate through the for loop again. So now I is also 2. So I is now here. We check beginning of I plus 1, which is going to be here. 15 is greater than end of I, which is 10. So that's true. So we add new list.add. We add beginning prev start, which is prev start is still 2. So we add 8 and 10 together, end of I. So we add these two together. And then we increment prev start plus 1. But now I is not less than length minus 1 because I is 3 and length minus 1 is 3. So that isn't true anymore. We exit this for loop, and we have to add our last interval, interval, and it's beginning of prev start. So prev start is we incremented it again, so now it's 3, and end of length -1, which is there's 4, so 4 minus 1 is 3. It's going to add 15 and 18, as you can see here. So it works perfectly. That's the logic behind this. Please subscribe if you guys haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.